to Power Conversations podcast by What's Your Superpower TV. This podcast features conversations of overcoming by faith and pushing through to fulfill a purpose-driven life. This podcast is hosted by CEO and best-selling author Nadia Francois. Welcome to the broadcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Power Conversations Live. I am your host, Nadia Francois, and today we have joining us Coach April Nowlin. Let me bring her up. Hey, Queen, how are you?
Hey, Nadia.
How are you today?
I am fantastic. Honored to be here.
Awesome. So, Miss April, come on and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. Give us your background.
So, my background is kind of all over the place, but I'm sure that some of you guys can relate. I know that you have an international audience, Nadia. Growing up as a military brat, so I have lived in a bunch of different states. I have been to 4 different continents, lived in Europe for a little bit of time. And so one of the things I love about my background is that because I've been all over, I can relate to almost anybody. And so no matter who's watching tonight, where you're watching tonight, I've probably either been close to there or want to come see you there. So
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
welcome. So tell us about Coach April.
Yeah.
Where are you from? What do you do? Give us some input.
Yeah. So originally from St. Louis, I live in Arizona right now. What I do, and in like the nutshell of what I do, without all the jargon and all the fluff, I help people create a life they love after divorce. Simple as that.
Love it.
That is my passion. That is my business, is really helping people get free from their pain in their past, from a breakup, divorce, toxic relationships, and ultimately helping them to create a life that they're like, man, this was better than my life before. And really just teaching people that divorce is a death, but it's not a death sentence. And so no matter how old you are, no matter how long you've been single, how long you've been divorced, how long you've been broken up, you still have a lot of life to live. And so that's what I do. I help people create a life they love after divorce.
I love it, Coach April. So, what brought you into coaching after divorce? Give us some gems on your journey.
Yes. So I started my business 10 years ago. This month, June, 10 years ago, 2013. I started as a business coach because I was working in organizations that coach small businesses. And for whatever reason, I just did not be fulfilled in that area. So I started this business as a business coach. And after 8 years, I went through a divorce. And so if anybody has been through a divorce, you know, man, that is life changing. But here's the thing. It was not my first divorce. It was my third divorce.
Wow.
Yeah. I had gotten divorced every 10 years since I was 21. So 21, 31, 41, which is insane. And so I decided like, okay, this is it. No more. Not that I didn't want another relationship, but I didn't want to go through what I went through the other 3 times. Yeah. And so after a year-long healing journey, I wrote a book about that journey called Move the Finish Line. And when I wrote the book, I was like, that's it. I'm healed. I'm done. I'm moving on. And the day that I hit publish, God was like, nope, you're not done yet. And I was like, what do you mean I'm not done? I wrote the book. I told the story. Like, I'm good. And so that's what sparked me to continue on and get a life coaching certification. So I'm a certified life breakthrough coach and Christian coach. I do group coaching. I do individual coaching. I have an event coming up on July 15th called Divorce Remix. So if you're in Phoenix, check that out. But that's how I got into coaching people. And the thing that propelled me was I believe that our pain has a purpose. Mm-hmm. If we go through the hard stuff in life and we do nothing with it, it was for nothing. Right? So I believe that one of the reasons or one of the things we can do with that pain is that we can help other people. And so I decided to take that pain of those three divorces, what I learned, what I've studied in the professional realm for relationship coaching and things like that. And I decided to help other people. So that's how I got into being a divorce recovery and dating coach.
So tell us about the book. So you briefly mentioned that you wrote a book. What was that about?
So let me tell y'all, first of all, I did not want to tell this story. Okay. Anybody who's been through, a broken, it don't be a divorce, but you just been through a bad breakup. You don't want to tell the whole world about your breakup.
Right, right.
And being someone who grew up in the church, being faith based, divorce is something that is still very stigmatized. There's a lot of shame and guilt tied to it. But to have to tell the world that you've done it 3 times, that's crazy. But why I wrote the book. So I was out walking. This was in what I call phase 2 of divorce recovery. So I was still like angry with God, but I was like facing the fact that I'm going through this divorce. And I was like, God, I did everything right this time. Right. So all the things that they tell us to do, we went to counseling, we did all of these, we did it right. And I still ended up in the same position. And I heard God say, you need to move the finish line. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And so what he gave me was when we come into this world, there's a finish line, a good finish line that he has for whether it's our health, our finances, our relationships, whatever. Because of poor decision, because of our upbringing, because of all of these different things, that finish line that he has for us gets moved. And he was like, April, you need to move that finish line. And so that's what the book is about. It's about the year-long healing journey that I went in, and it's raw, it's real, ain't no fluff. But it just talks about, those things that we don't think about, how our childhood affects every decision that we make. And me having to go back and pull up the roots of like, how did I keep picking the same men? Because my career was good, finances were good, but for whatever reason, relationships was terrible. And so the book really just tells that journey. It gives other people tips on if you feel like I'm stuck in this cycle, specifically with relationships, how do I now get out of that? And so you can get the book at movethefinishline.com or aprilnowlin.com. But and it's a short read, y'all. It's like 2 hours for real, because that's all I was gonna write.
Good, but it sounds like it's very helpful, and it also helped you to heal, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when we write, that is some good therapy for us.
Yes.
Letting that stuff out.
Yes. I cried through, I think it took a little over a month to write the book, and I cried through half of it, y'all.
Yeah.
I really did. Because like you said, having to relive those stories and relive those moments, it was like they were happening all over again.
Yeah.
But I knew that by telling my story, it would help other people to heal. And so I was like, all right, if I got to put it out here, I'm putting it out here.
I love it. I love it. And so I know that your life experiences with divorce and relationships are what initially pushed you into your coaching. What did you do prior to that?
So prior to that, I was in 2 things, which one I'm still kind of in, but I was in marketing. And so I did marketing for tech companies, marketing for churches, and marketing for small businesses. And then I did business coaching around marketing. So I would coach my own clients on how to create sustainable marketing strategies within their businesses, small businesses. I would coach them on how to create marketing funnels and things like that. So my background is in marketing and then also in instructional design. So if you guys don't know what that is, if you've ever taken an online course, I used to build those for many, many years. And so that's what I did before this.
Awesome. And so in your relationships, I'm trying to see how I want to word this. I'm sure that all 3 relationships didn't end on the same note, right? So how would you explain to the audience, or what pointers can you give to the audience? I'll put it like that. What pointers can you give to the audience, or some things to look out for in our relationships that may be red flags, that may be, even in choosing the same type of partner that's not right for you over and over? What do you have for us in that?
Yes. So I tell people a lot of times that I feel like I married the same man. He just had a different name each time, right? Same kind of characteristics, things of that nature. So when you talk about red flags, what to look for, I am a proponent of learning how to date before you start dating. So when I started doing divorce recovery coaching, that was it. That's all I did was divorce recovery coaching. But as I talked to more and more people, they were like asking the same questions. What do I look for before I get married? And what do I look for while I'm single? And so that's why I added the dating component. And I actually do a dating workshop that answers a lot of these questions, right? What do I do before? So in essence, the number one thing that I tell people when I coach them is work on yourself first. Become who you want to be with, right? So if we're saying specifically as women, like I want a man that makes this, or I want a man who's financially stable, and I want a man who blah, 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 blah. On the same token, though, are we financially stable? Now, I'm not talking about dollar amount, right? But I'm talking about, are you spending your money wisely? How are you raising your children? What type of parent are you? What type of health are you in? What does your career look like? So I would say, number one, make sure that you are in a healthy place first. Because when you are in a healthy place, then it's very easy to now spot unhealthy people. And
That's good.
so
That's good.
when we are broken, it's almost like bad attract bad. I'm gonna be honest with you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When people ask me, like, man, April, you didn't learn the first time. And the simple answer was, I was a broken person
Yeah.
dating and then marrying broken people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got healed, not perfect, because I think healing is a journey, but it wasn't until I got healed that I could now spot someone. I can meet a man and talk to him for 5 to 10 minutes and nope, this ain't it. We don't even need to go out.
Yeah.
We don't even need to see each other. Because when you are healthy, you can spot healthy.
Yeah.
So in the workshop, to answer your question, some of the things that I talk about as far as red flags are a few simple things. Number one, are you being respected? Are you being heard? Do you feel safe? And when I think about safe, not just physically safe, do you feel emotionally safe? Do you feel spiritually safe? If you are a person of whatever faith, right? And you're with this other person, are you feeling safe with them? Are you feeling safe to be able to share who you really are? So, one of the things that I noticed in my past relationships was that I was not the true April. I was the April that I believe they needed and
Yeah.
wanted to see. And those times when I felt like I was trying to be the true April, it was shut down. It was, you're too bossy, you're too controlling, you know too much, you talk too much. And so what I realized was I was never able to be myself in those relationships. And so those are just some of the borderline. If you feel like you can't be yourself, if and let me say this, not to say that not everyone has a place for improvement, right? Okay.
Yeah, of course.
But if you don't feel like you can be safe being yourself, huge red flag. If their values, your core values, in the workshop, I ask people, what are your core values? And to be honest with you, half of them don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Things like safety, peace. I am big on my peace. If
Yeah.
I'm a man and your lifestyle is bringing drama into mine, we're done.
Yeah.
You're not going to disturb my peace. So if you meet someone and they are disturbing your core values, you do not feel safe with them emotionally, physically, spiritually, immediately, those are red flags.
Yeah. Okay. Now, my next question is, well, I'm a wait on that one. I'm gonna interject real quick just to spice it up a little bit. So, I'm a single person. I
Mhm.
have been divorced for about 12. No, it's been longer than that. Probably like 14 years
Okay.
I've been divorced. And so at this point in my life, I'm like, I'll wait till I'm about 70, 75 to get married again. So what's wrong with me? Is it something that, like I'm trying to like, why do I feel like that? Of course, I know, like you said, we have to go back to our childhood with some stuff. And so I'm an only child. And so it's like I like being by myself.
See?
It's not a bad thing for me. But at the same time, of course, you're a human. You want, love, you want companionship, you want
Mhm.
attention, you want all those good things that come with a relationship, but not
Mhm.
necessarily a relationship. So, what's your take on me?
Well, by what you're saying, shoot, you good being single.
I really am. I really am.
So, without having a whole coaching session,
You're right.
um,
I probably
first of
need a
all, let
mental
me say
coaching.
there's nothing wrong with you.
Okay.
We have been taught that if we're single and we desire a relationship and that relationship hasn't come, then something's wrong.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything's wrong. It may mean that we need to work on some things. It may mean the person we're looking for needs to work on some things. It may mean that we're ready. We're just not doing the things to attract the person. It's so many things.
Yeah.
But what you said, I hear with my clients all the time. What's wrong with me? And it's not necessarily something that's wrong with you, right? The waiting season. So I did a podcast back in January, I think, with a lady named Evelyn. Oh, she was my coworker. She got remarried 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm gonna tell her story because it's on the podcast, so I can tell it.
Okay.
But she was in her mid 50s, and she had been divorced. I think she had been divorced and then also widowed for about 12 years. Funny enough. And so we talked about that waiting season, right? So number one, in the waiting season, live your life.
Yeah.
We specifically as women, sometimes we wait. I'm gonna wait till I get married to buy the house. I'm gonna wait till I'm gonna do this to travel. I'm gonna wait till and so there's a couple things that I tell people to do in the waiting season, and there's a reason. One, buy something, see something, do something, give something back. So if you waiting to buy that car, buy the car. I bought 9 on my own. You waiting to buy that house, I bought 3. You waiting to travel, I've been to 29 states and 4 continents. Travel, okay? So number one, in the waiting, live your life.
Yeah.
And what that does is number one, it allows you to get to know you, but it puts you in spaces to get to know other people that are similar to you. Okay. If you're desiring to be married, some people, like you said, you're like, I'm good. And it's funny that when we get to that I'm good space is when, oh, now I meet him
Now somebody coming. Yeah.
because I'm good.
Absolutely.
It can be simple things like, where are you going every day? I tell people all the time, working from home, I work from home quite a bit. If you were desiring to date and get married, unless you're trying to marry the FedEx or Amazon delivery guy, nothing wrong with that. But unless that's it, you're going to have to get off your couch. You're going to have to get out there, do things that you love to do. You like to hike, go. I live in Arizona. There's a lot of mountains. We like to hike. Other places, they like, we're not hiking. We ain't going to no woods.
No, we're not hiking in Louisiana.
Right. These are hobbies,
Yeah.
right? So once again, without having a coaching session to really get to know you.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, it could be things like you said, I'm enjoying my single life. So mentally, you may not even be entertaining. There may be someone in your life right now who's been trying to holler at you, and you're not even thinking because you enjoying your single life.
Yes.
Because I've seen that happen too. When I coach men, I've heard men say, there's a woman that I've been trying to talk to her for 3 months and she's oblivious. We do that, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a myriad of things. But what I can tell that person who is in their waiting season is to continue to work on you in a nutshell. And I know that's hard because you're like, but April, I've been single for so long. That's okay. That's all right. Do something. Make your single time count.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. Thank you for that. It just confirms a lot of things for me because, like you said, that time, that waiting season, and I'm okay with it. Like I said, I am perfectly okay because I also feel like you have to heal from the old stuff, right? Before you start bringing new people, new everything, because you really have to relearn these people. They have to learn you. And, so it's a whole process in itself. So you don't want to have the old baggage stacking on top of the new baggage.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you hit the nail on the head. Like I said, it took me 20 years.
Yeah.
It was 20 years from my first divorce to the last one before something clicked and I was like, wait, something is off.
Yeah.
So when you talk about that baggage, I wasn't, a bad person, none of that. I did live last night with one of the speakers of the event I'm doing in July called Divorce Remix. And what we were talking about was, how do you know when you're really healed, right? And I told her throughout these, stints in between my marriages, I thought I was healed.
Yeah.
But when I really got healed, it was almost like this tangible feeling. And the way that I describe it is, I was like a caged bird that had been set free.
Girl.
But I never knew I was in a cage until that
Wow.
moment. And so, like you said, there could be things internally stopping you. And then I'm going to also mention this because this goes hand in hand with the waiting season: loneliness. Loneliness is a human emotion, right?
Yeah.
We fight so hard to not feel loneliness, but loneliness is human, guys. We're going to feel it sometimes. We were created for companionship. Companionship is not always opposite sex or same sex intimate relationships. That is not the core root of companionship. Companionship is just other people.
Yeah.
And so what I tell people in that waiting season, because we all get lonely, in that waiting season, go out and find companionship. Join a group, join a club. You know what I'm saying? Start a group, start a club. I have a good friend. She met her husband because she started a small group and he showed up.
Wow.
And they were married 8 months later. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about the loneliness can be hard, but it is temporary.
Yeah.
I was about 6 months out from my last divorce, and I was like, Lord, I don't like sleeping in the bed by myself. I don't like I was literally in my bed crying. And God asked me this. He said, do you want the temporary feeling of loneliness that you feel right now? Or do you want the permanent feeling of loneliness that you felt being married, crying in that same spot when your husband hadn't slept in the bed with you for 3 months? Which do you want? I will take this for 200. Let me go in and cry myself to sleep and get up in the morning.
Get up in the morning and shake it off. Yeah.
Right. So it is okay to feel lonely. It is all right. We don't have to numb all of our feelings because our feelings, our indicators are just things that need to happen in our life. And so for those of you who are like, April, but I'm lonely, get a dog. A dog will love on you.
I don't even want a dog. That's how. Girl, listen, I'm good. Well, and I'll just add this part. I raised my 4 sons as a single parent after being divorced. So it was like always testosterone everywhere around me. And I'm okay now.
You're like, look, I'm not clean because boys are gross. They are.
Girl.
And here's the thing. At the end of the day, Nadia, I truly believe this. You know when you know.
Yeah.
You know when you're ready and you know when you're not ready and trying to rush it, but you'll know when you know. And that moment that you know, you'll be like, all right, I'm ready. I'm good. But for now, enjoy your space. Enjoy your time.
Girl, I am. I'm loving it. And look, you made me feel like I'm okay after you said nothing's wrong with me. So I'm like, okay, because it's just the consensus of the people, right?
Yeah.
When you say, oh, all the boys have grown up and moved on and moved out, and and they're like, oh, you're going through emptiness. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Right.
It's perfectly fine.
Right. What I would say to them is, here's my travel schedule for the year.
Exactly.
So I have a 15-year-old daughter and I'm a single parent. And I tell people all the time, as much as I love her, I am preparing for life after kids.
Yeah.
I am preparing to do what April want to do after kids.
Yeah.
And
we
so,
sacrifice a lot to parent, like really, when you do it the way that you're supposed to.
Yeah.
We sacrifice a lot to get.
So enjoy that single time. Enjoy that single time. Last night, me and the lady that was on, she's a marriage coach. And she was saying, not that marriage is great. And I'm team marriage. So I'm going to let y'all know, even though I'm a divorce coach, I am team marriage. But sometimes we make marriage look like this glamorous thing,
Yeah.
and the world almost tells us if you don't have that, you're missing out. And that's not the case. Marriage is great, but it
Yeah.
ain't what you see on social media and all that. And so
Not at
enjoy
all.
your single life.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. When you can get up and do what you want to do, go where you want to go, spend your money how you want to spend, enjoy that season. And then when you're ready, you'll know, and then you can move on.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much, April. So, this is what I want you to do for me. I want you to tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, how they can connect with you on social media. Give us your website. How do they book you for coaching? And if you have anything else you need them to know, feel free to say that as well.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Nadia.
You're welcome.
So the easiest way to find me is aprilnowlin.com. And so I know it's on the graphic. I know it'll probably be in the show notes. But Google my name literally. And social media is April Nowlin. YouTube is April Nowlin. My website is April Nowlin. Just April Nowlin. The big thing, like I said, I have an event coming up July 15th. So if you're in the Phoenix area, would love to have you, but it's called Divorce Remix. And it is a breakup recovery event. Even if you've not been divorced and you're like, April, I'm still struggling because I've been in these crazy relationships, come on out. Matter of fact, Nadia, here's what I'm going to do. If you guys reach out to me after listening to this, I will give you a 50% off code
Come
for
on.
Divorce Remix on July 15th. So you got to reach out to me and be like, hey, I watched the episode, because y'all got to watch our episode, y'all. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
But if you're watching, reach out to me. I'll give you 50% off a registration for Divorce Remix on July 15th.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. And so, what are your final thoughts to our audience?
Yeah. Final thoughts. Your relationship status does not determine who you are. Your relationship story does not determine your future. And so I say this all the time: divorce, breakups, they are a death, but they are not a death sentence. And I don't care how old you are. I coach women in their 20s and their 70s.
Yeah.
You still have so much life to live after your relationship has ended. And so never forget that your relationship did not make you who you are. You make your relationships what they are. So you have so much life to live.
I love it. I love it. And that was one of the questions. Well, it wasn't a question, it was just a comment that I was going to make earlier before I started talking about myself. But it was about divorce being, uh, you go through the grieving process.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did want to touch on that a little bit, but you kind of brought that out in your
Yeah.
final thoughts. So thank you so much, April, for joining us tonight
Thank
on
you for
Power
having me.
Conversations podcast. We are ecstatic to have you here. As I stated earlier, April is also a contributing writer for our Power Conversations magazine. So make sure you go into our latest issue, which was the May-June issue, and catch her dating article, y'all. It's really, really good. And so it's available online or in our print edition of the latest issue of Power Conversations. So if you aren't following us, make sure that you do so at www.powerconversationsmagazine.com. You can also follow us on social media, Power Conversations for Facebook, WISP TV for Instagram. And guys, check us out every Thursday. We have a new episode of the podcast uploaded to all platforms. So make sure you stay in touch with us and reach out and support these amazing, amazing guests that we have here. Thank you, April, again. You have a wonderful night.
Thank you. You have a good night as well.
Thank